Have you ever had that that moment, that inflection point in your life where the routine, the autopilot you're on, it all suddenly feels, I don't know, hollow? You look around in the conversations, the job, the whole structure, it feels flimsy. The map you've been following just doesn't lead anywhere you want to go anymore.
Yeah.
If that really unsettling feeling resonates with you, you are definitely not alone. That signal is often the start of what our sources call the energy upgrade.
Or a spiritual awakening, yeah. It's an intensely personal and often a very confusing internal shift.
It really is.
And that's exactly why we're doing this deep dive today. Our mission is to take these massive sort of abstract ideas and really ground them.
Make them practical.
Exactly. We're going to unpack the signs, the physical, the emotional signs that you are undergoing this shift in consciousness. We also need to separate genuine transformation from, simple psychological shock.
That's a crucial distinction.
It is. And most importantly, we want to give you practical, actionable tools to navigate this whole process so you feel empowered, not lost in it.
And to anchor this whole conversation, we have to start with the one foundational concept, the idea that this is all built on.
Right.
And that is that everything in the universe, your body, your emotions, even your thoughts, is all just energy and vibration.
Exactly. And we're not just talking about, metaphysics for the sake of it. When you look at physics, all matter is constantly vibrating. It's a fact.
Right.
So if you can accept that you are an energetic system, then the core belief here is actually quite simple. When your energy frequency changes, when it accelerates,
Your whole life has to follow.
your life, your perspective, your reality, it all has to follow. It's like changing the dial on a radio. You stop tuning into the static of fear and you start tuning into the clear music of, possibility.
Okay, let's unpack that, this idea of frequency acceleration. What exactly is an energy upgrade, and why does it feel so destabilizing?
Fundamentally, it's an acceleration of your core frequency. Think of it like an internal seismic shift happening in your consciousness, and it goes right down to your cells.
Wow.
And the goal is not to, turn you into some kind of superhero. It's really more of a homecoming.
A homecoming, I like that.
Yeah, it's about stripping away all the conditioning, the cultural programming, the superficial layers you've built up, so you can just return to your true, unburdened self. The destabilization comes because you are literally shedding the identity you thought you were.
That sounds amazing, but how do you know? How does the listener know what their personal frequency is? It's not like we have a little energy meter strapped to our wrist, charting our progress.
No, you don't. It's tied directly to your feeling states. And this requires radical self-honesty. You don't measure the energy, you measure the emotion.
Okay, so what's the scale?
High-frequency emotions are the ones that feel expansive. Joy, love, compassion, gratitude, peace. Low-frequency emotions are the opposite. They feel heavy, dense, contractive. Things like anger, fear, guilt, shame, worthlessness.
So your sustained emotional state over time, that's the real barometer.
That is the most accurate barometer you have for your current vibrational frequency.
And this is where the upgrade part gets really fascinating because it feels almost involuntary. Once that frequency starts to climb, you start seeing this unconscious shift in your thoughts.
Oh, absolutely. This is a huge sign. You might just realize one day that these old anxieties, the things you used to ruminate on constantly, they're just quieter.
They're just diminishing.
Yeah, and not because you sat down and, rationally problem solved your way out of it. It's because your energetic signature is no longer a match for those lower frequency issues.
It doesn't resonate anymore.
It just doesn't resonate. So the thoughts start to fall away without you even having to fight them. And that's one of the first signals that the upgrade is really taking hold.
So once that energetic foundation starts to shift, the way it shows up in your daily life becomes, undeniable. Let's move into the science. I want to start with that deep cognitive shift, the one that moves people away from pure logic.
Ah, yes. The rebalancing. This is where intuition starts to override the intellect. That inner knowing or your gut instinct. It strengthens almost abnormally.
It's often linked to the third eye chakra opening, right?
That's the conceptual link.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're not laboring through problems anymore. The answer just arrives. It's a certainty, a deep, quiet knowledge that's beyond logical thought.
A faster operating system.
It really is, a much deeper one.
And that intuitive leap seems to be what makes people suddenly crave learning about things they would have just dismissed before as fringe.
Definitely. Old hobbies just fade away, and you find yourself fascinated by, quantum mechanics or sacred geometry, the chakras.
Near-death experiences, the subtle body. all of it.
Exactly. It's a signal that the rigid materialist worldview is just dissolving. You're hungry for knowledge that explains this interconnectedness that you're suddenly starting to sense everywhere.
Speaking of interconnectedness, let's talk synchronicities, those huge aha moments that make you feel like reality is winking at you.
Yes. The repeating numbers, the perfect chance meetings.
Thinking of an old friend and they immediately text you.
That one, all the time.
Yeah.
Now, this is often explained away as confirmation bias, but that really misses the deeper insight. This isn't your brain glitching.
Right.
It's your awareness expanding. You're tuning into patterns that were always there in the matrix of reality. Before the upgrade, your frequency was just too narrow to perceive them. Now you're on a wider bandwidth, and the universe is responding.
That all sounds pretty wonderful, but the sources are also very clear that the body is not having an easy time with this.
Right.
We hear a lot about ascension symptoms. If this is an upgrade, why does the physical body protest so much?
Because the physical body is the ultimate integrator. It's your historical archive. Every single stored emotional trauma, every limiting belief, every moment of fear you never processed is stored somatically.
In your tissues, your organs.
In your tissues, your fascia, your organs, yes. So when your consciousness accelerates, the body has to physically restructure itself to accommodate that new, higher energy. And this deep release of stored emotional density, it causes temporary and often very confusing physical discomfort.
Can you give us some specific examples? Grounding the symptoms in those mind-body links is so helpful.
Absolutely. Okay, so think about aches or chronic pain in the legs and lower back. This often connects to the root chakra, which is all about security and survival.
Okay.
When your energy accelerates, you are clearing out these long-held survival fears, chronic anxiety, feelings of not being worthy. The body's just letting that go.
And what about something like heart palpitations? That sounds terrifying.
It does. Heart palpitations, shakiness, tightness in the chest.
Yeah.
That's often the heart chakra releasing decades of stored grief or guilt, shame, self-worth issues. It can feel like a panic attack, but a lot of the time it's just the energy of old pain dissolving.
So recognizing the emotional root helps you move through it instead of just fearing it.
Precisely. It changes everything.
Sure. This whole journey sounds, beautiful and incredibly frustrating at the same time. In the middle of all this chaos, people often hit a wall of fear. They worry they're genuinely losing their mind because the self they knew is just dissolving.
And this fear is a critical part of it, because the process requires the ego, that conditioned, superficial, separated self, to start letting go.
And to the ego, that feels like death.
It feels like death. So it generates intense resistance and fear, and that leads to profound instability.
So how do we draw that line? This is a vital question. How do you distinguish between this temporary ego dissolution and a genuine psychological breakdown?
This distinction is a huge focus in transpersonal psychology. A spiritual awakening is a temporary disruption that leads to a shift up. It's chaotic, absolutely, but it leads to the emergence of a new, more integrated, higher functioning self.
So the feeling of going crazy is actually a sign you're breaking free.
It's a sign you're breaking free from a conformity that might have been unhealthy to begin with. As one source put it, being well adjusted to a sick society is not a measure of health.
That's powerful.
A genuine psychotic breakdown, on the other hand, is the disintegration of the self without the emergence of a new, stable structure afterwards. The difference is the trajectory. One spirals up, the other sadly spirals down.
The other painful part of this is the sudden isolation, the loneliness paradox. Why does this upgrade seem to demand that you step away from the very people you used to rely on?
Because your core values and, critically, your energy signature have shifted. You suddenly have zero tolerance for drama, for low vibrational gossip, for superficial chats.
It just feels draining.
It feels incredibly draining because your new frequency doesn't resonate with those old, dense patterns. Old relationships feel distant, conversations feel hollow. The craving for alone time, this reclusiveness, it's completely purposeful.
It's the cocoon phase.
It's the necessary cocoon phase. You need it for deep self-discovery, and most importantly, to develop a non-dependent self-love. You have to learn to fill your own well before you can share water with anyone else.
Okay, and before we get to the solutions, we have to talk about the biggest pitfall. The one that can hijack this entire process.
Yeah.
The trap of superiority or false light.
The ego's last stand. It's when the ego tries to reassert control by making you feel better than other people, judging them as low consciousness or unawakened.
And that just stops all true progress in its tracks.
Completely.
But I have a question there. If I genuinely feel more peaceful and joyful, isn't that inherently superior to someone who's choosing to live in chaos?
Mhm.
How do I hold non-judgment when I feel like I've moved past certain behaviors?
That is the critical challenge. True integration requires radical humility. It requires transcending that rigid black and white thinking. The difference is seeing the behavior, not the essence. You stop seeing them as inferior.
And you start seeing the shared human condition.
You start seeing the common struggle for joy in everyone you meet. Arrogance is a sign that the ego is just wearing a spiritual cloak. Humility. Humility is the sign of authentic integration.
So if we're navigating this turbulence, how do we stay grounded? The sources are so clear that we need practical, actionable tools, and they all point to one core healing mechanism: shadow work.
Shadow work is, it's non-negotiable. If the upgrade is bringing in the light, shadow work is what brings the darkness forward so it can be processed.
So what is it?
It's the methodical process of integrating all the rejected parts of yourself: the anger, the jealousy, the need for control, the feelings of unworthiness, all the things that were often created by childhood trauma and societal shame.
It sounds like it goes against that common spiritual impulse to just, focus on the light and be happy.
It does.
Yeah.
Because as Carl Jung famously said, you don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Just seeking light without doing this work is what's known as spiritual bypass. And it just seals those unhealed parts of you deeper inside. You have to consciously turn and go toward the darkness and face those wounded parts of yourself.
What does that look like practically for someone just starting out?
It starts with recognizing projection. What traits in other people just intensely irritate you?
Right. The things that really push your buttons.
That intense irritation is often the universe just holding up a mirror to the part of yourself that you have most fiercely rejected.
Yeah.
So start by journaling about the traits in others that trigger you. That is the quickest way into your own shadow.
And this work is all about accepting duality, isn't it? Learning to hold the tension of opposites.
Precisely. We are taught to operate in this fundamentalist mind. Good or bad, black or white. But psychic wholeness requires accepting that dualities coexist.
Can you give an example?
Sure. You can love your family member unconditionally and feel a persistent wellspring of resentment toward a specific behavior they have. You can feel profound self-love and still have moments of crippling self-doubt.
And holding both of those truths at the same time without pushing one away is the key.
That's the road to integration.
Okay, let's move to some specific, actionable grounding practices. Starting with something simple but difficult. Silence. Inner listening.
It sounds obvious, but you have to drastically reduce the external noise. The notifications, the podcasts, the constant distraction. You have to reduce it to increase the clarity of your own internal voice.
When you stop trying to fill the void.
You inner knowing, that powerful intuition we talked about, can finally speak. It is essential for discernment during this shift.
And since the body is struggling so much, how can we use our breath to smooth things out?
Breathwork is the fastest way to regulate your autonomic nervous system. When the body is panicking, you need to activate the parasympathetic system, the rest and digest system.
And there's a specific technique for that.
A very powerful one. Focus on longer exhalations. It calms the vagus nerve. So try inhaling for a count of 4, holding for 6, and then exhaling slowly for 8. That signals safety to your body and lets that high-frequency energy flow more smoothly. It really minimizes those anxiety-driven symptoms.
What about for highly sensitive people, the empaths who just seem to absorb everyone else's stress? What about energetic boundaries?
Boundaries here aren't physical. They are intentional, invisible barriers you create with visualization.
So not a wall.
No, not a wall. Think of it more like a flexible, reflective chrome shield, about 6 inches from your skin. And this shield is porous only to energy that aligns with your highest good.
And you just practice that visualization.
Practice it daily. It stops you from absorbing draining emotions from your environment, which is vital when your own system is already going through so much acceleration.
Finally, let's touch on the vibrational diet, the idea that conscious consumption is part of this.
The spiritual perspective is that food is energy. High vibrational foods are things that are alive and natural, fresh, unprocessed fruits and vegetables. They introduce vibrant energy.
What about meat?
The sources do discuss the idea that meat is a denser energy. Some traditions view it as heavy or even detrimental to fine energetic alignment. But the important thing here is conscious choice, not dogma.
So it's an experiment.
It's an experiment in raising your internal state. If you're going through an intense energetic period, the suggestion is to maybe remove the densest, heaviest foods first and just observe how your system responds.
This whole journey is so clearly continuous and irreversible, and it just demands commitment. But if our listener is in the thick of it right now, with all the ups and downs, what's the one core perspective they need to hold on to?
Humility and a fierce curiosity. You have to trust the unfolding. The process is smarter than your ego. Trying to fight it or stop it only causes more resistance and more suffering. You've started the path to a deep, integrated self-realization.
And here is the final provocative thought for you to carry forward as you continue on this path. The ultimate measure of your spiritual progress is not found in how quickly external desires, money, status, a perfect partner show up in your life.
No. The true measure is the sustained quality of your current emotional state. Are you finding deep self-acceptance? Are you willing to allow profound, integrated inner peace to feel more interesting and more valuable than external drama and chaos? That fundamental shift in what you value, that is the most powerful magnetic force you could possibly cultivate. Trust the process and stay resilient.